colleagues, leaders, depending where in the world you are joining us. What an absolute pleasure and an absolute privilege it is to be in your company this afternoon on my side, as we are coming to you live from, my side, Johannesburg in South Africa. And of course, I'm sure you're joining us from different parts of this wonderful globe of ours. Well, welcome to it. It is indeed the Stellenbosch Business Institute LeaderSHIFT webinar series. These are once a month, a high-level, high-impact series where we really get to engage with some of our global leaders about the fundamentals as well as the skills that are needed to navigate a world of uncertainty, a world where we're trying to go into post-COVID recovery, a world where we're trying to steer the ships within our respective organizations in the way in which it makes the most impact. Of course, these are safe spaces. I call them safe spaces that are brought to you courtesy of the Stellenbosch Business Institute. And we really act as a catalyst for change, especially when it comes to introducing learning programs at an executive level so that the leaders that engage with us are able to navigate complexities that exist within their respective fields. It is an absolute honor, it's an absolute privilege once again to be in your company. And we hope that through the 45 minutes that we've got together, we're able just to tap into those nuggets of wisdom, pull through some of those moments of vulnerability and authenticity so that we can help you navigate your way of work. Now, ladies and gentlemen, of course, this month is absolutely no different. We've got another golden individual joining us this afternoon. Of course, we've got Dr. Ntombi Mhangwani, who is the executive head of marketing at Vodacom Business and the chairperson of the Women's Network Forum for Vodacom in South Africa. Thank you so much, Dr. Ntombi, for joining us this afternoon. What an absolute pleasure to be in your company, and welcome to our safe space of leadership.
Well, thank you very much, Faith. It's an absolute honor to be with you and the team. Please let me introduce you to the man who lives in my throat. His name is also Ntombi Mhangwani. So I hope everybody adjusts to having me around and don't pay any attention to the man that lives in my throat. It's an absolute honor to be with you today.
I tell you, I'm in broadcasting and radio, and that man that lives in your throat is golden. I mean, golden. We all need that man. But let's talk a little bit about Dr. Ntombi. You know, when I was reading your profile, I thought to myself, how does somebody do all of the things that she does in 24 hours and still manages to catch her breath and look so fabulous? But talk to us a little bit about the journey that you've undertaken and some of the spaces of influence that you've occupied over the years.
Well, thank you, Faith. I think first, before I actually focus on my professional accomplishments, it's important for me to introduce who I am, because I always tell people that I am not my job, and people need to understand all of me and who I am. I am a last born. I am a baby girl. I am my father's last born daughter. And I have 4 other siblings who are girls before me. So I am girl number 5, hence my name Ntombi Zodwa, which means girls only. So I am the youngest, but I behave like the eldest. And my sister, who is number 1, allows me to navigate that as well. I am an absolutely phenomenal Dr. Auntie Babes to all my nephews and nieces. My father calls me Mabrukis, and believe me, don't ever call me Mabrukis. I will not respond to you. Only my dad uses that name. And at the end of the day, I am a very passionate, very authentic, very loving leader who is committed to building high-performance team, working with women, coaching, developing. I believe leaders in the past in my career have given me an opportunity, and I believe in doing the same. If somebody gave me a chance, I make sure that I give an opportunity and a chance to somebody else. I've had the honor of being a marketing director at Schneider Electric, also at Accenture, now at Vodacom. I've also had the honor of leading, like you said, the Women's Forum, both at Accenture for the past 5 years and now at Vodacom as well. Yes, I have a PhD. I have a Doctor of Philosophy in the Management of Innovation and Technology. I focused on my PhD looking at the 4th Industrial Revolution, looking at what does it mean, what are the technologies that come with this revolution. I then looked at how do people react to such fundamental change and how does it impact them psychologically as people. I then looked at leadership. I looked at what type of leaders do we need leading people in this digital revolution. And remember, we're already starting to talk about the 5th and the 6th industrial revolution, not just the 4th industrial revolution. I looked at some of the best leadership theories, approaches, and then I said, based on what we know about this digital revolution, what is the kind of leader that we need? What are the roles they need to embrace? What are the behaviors that they need to be showing up with if they are going to lead people in organizations? And it's not only in organizations, it can be NGOs, it can be government. It's basically saying, what is the sustainable future leader that we need to be able to grow our country and our organizations?
Well, let's get into the heart of this, because ultimately, in order for us to be effective leaders, we have to be effective people. People are the ones that are leading. And if I'm the person and I'm not at the space where I can rise to the effectiveness of leadership, then my leadership will be compromised. In this time, in this 21st century, where we've got the digital age, where in many instances, the digital age can be quite intimidating to those who do not know what's next for their individual organizations. What type of leader is actually needed? What type of person is actually needed to steer the ship?
So, Faith, one of the things I was looking at is, what are the roles, right? So let's look at the roles that I believe that leaders in this digital economy that we live in need to be showing up as well. So I think the leaders that we need today are leaders who need to be innovators. And, I'm going to be saying things that a lot of leaders or your bosses in the past have said, but I'm now showing you that there is theory and there's proof and there's evidence and there's case studies that show us that we need leaders who are innovators, because the way to solve for a lot of the problems that we are going to be facing, the challenges that we are going to be meeting on a daily basis, is by innovating. And when I say leaders who we need, leaders who are innovating, I'm not saying leaders who innovate by themselves. They need to innovate with their teams, because some of the answers are actually with the teams who do the work on the ground. We need leaders who are collaborators. It might seem obvious to many people, but actually some people don't know how to collaborate and they don't know how to be team players. We need collaborators. We need leaders who are systems thinkers. Systems thinkers is about saying, don't just look at the area you work in the organization. Look at the entire ecosystem. Understand how one part of the organization's functions actually impact all the other areas of the organization. And if we actually drop the ball in one area, what impact does it have? I know you and I have had a conversation about foresight. I think foresight comes into this systems thinking, because with foresight, you're saying you need leaders who are able to predict what is going to happen and implement action that will actually resolve some of the challenges that they will face in the near future. This also requires systems thinking. If you are going to work with foresight, you need to be able to see the entire ecosystem, be able to see the entire system, how it works together, and how the collapse of one area could have a domino impact on the entire organization or another area as well. I think the other role I want to talk about is being a customer experience director. In this day and age, it's not about what we as organizations are selling to the organization, to our customers and to our clients. It's also about what our clients are willing to receive from us. They will pay more money and they will choose a brand and choose to work with, associate, and be loyal to organizations and brands that will deliver exceptional customer experience. So it's no longer of we tell the customer this is what you're getting and we don't get their feedback. Customer experience director is a role that leaders need to understand. Leaders in this digital economy also need to be change directors. There's a lot of change. You yourself, Faith, said that a lot of the change that is happening with this digital economy can be intimidating. The reality is we're going to take some people on this journey and others are going to be left behind, because some people struggle with change and they are too scared of what it means for them and their jobs, and therefore they get stuck. but we need leaders who are going to be change directors. We also need leaders who are able to deal with ambiguity, volatility, and agility. And what I mean by that is that there's a lot of change. You need to be agile to be able to respond to it. You can't say, well, the organization says this is the process, 3 months for this, another 2 days for this, another 5 weeks for this. Agility. If you are not agile, other companies who are competing in your area will actually disrupt you and will eat away at your livelihood. So ambiguity is also understanding that the world is not black and white. It's also full of gray. And we are saying, how are leaders themselves embracing the gray that comes with being a leader, the gray that comes with this digital revolution, and also the gray that comes with the challenges organizations are faced with. So it's not about saying, I believe in black and white and that's it. Anything else doesn't work. Then you are not the right leader. There's a lot of gray in this world. You need to be able to respond to it. You need to be able to accommodate it, and you need to be agile to respond to it. The other role I want to speak about, and just before you wonder, Faith, how many roles I have, I actually came up with about 15 roles. So bear with me a few minutes. We also then have a role that says we need a virtual project and team manager. People are working virtually. You need to understand how to inspire and get results and get productivity and get collaboration and get innovation from your virtual team, from your virtual project as a leader. Leaders also need to be data analysts and data managers. They say data is the new gold, but it is only the new gold if you are able to take it, paint a picture, and therefore make decisions that have a positive outcome. Because having data as the new gold and not using it to deliver the required outcomes is no use at all. But data, you've got to be able to use it to make the right decisions. The next role I want to talk about is about having leaders who understand that they have to be technology, ethics, and value managers. And what do I mean by that? Some of the technology we use can be used for good and it can be used for bad. When we say technology is being used for bad, we look at how people are using technology to hack people's phones, WhatsApps, computers, or go and steal data from organizations and all of that, and then say they need to pay ransom to get their data back. And we also need to say some of the apps we use. These apps are developed by individuals. When they build these apps, they bring in some of their own ethics, some of their value systems into these apps. You as a leader need to be able to say, we're going to use this technology. Are we using it for good? Or these apps that we want our customers to be working with, have they got the foundation and the value system that we stand for as an organization? And don't just blindly use technology without realizing there's ethics behind this new technology as well. I also believe leaders who are leading in this digital economy need to be problem solvers, lifelong learning facilitators, empowering leaders, EQ coaches, and they also need to be encouraging a sense of entrepreneurship, where people feel that they are owning what they work with as well. And so it's not about saying, I have a job in a corporate organization, and therefore having a job in a corporate organization, I get my salary and that's good enough. It's about saying, run your particular role as if it was your own company. Make sure that you are making decisions in your role that you would make if you were running your own company as well. And also the one final role I want to talk about is we need leaders who are empowering leaders. And you need to be able to empower your team, whether you're seeing them in the office or whether you're seeing them virtually. And these are the roles leaders in this digital economy, in this revolution, the fourth and the fifth, need to be embracing and showing if they are to be effective and sustainable leaders. Over to you, Faith.
Well, I definitely do thank you for being able to share with us the holistic context of understanding leadership if we're truly to navigate the elements that you've mentioned of volatility, uncertainty, and some of the challenges that we face. But I can imagine a lot of us who are in different leadership positions are listening to this, Dr. Ntombi, and thinking, how am I going to do that? Half the time I'm trying to survive. The other time I'm trying to retain staff. The other time I'm trying to make sure that the bills are paid and the operations actually continue in the business. How do we keep ahead and have and exercise this foresight if we're dealing consistently and most of the time on the daily basis? And some leaders will even attest to this, that sometimes leaders find themselves putting out fires on a daily basis, that they don't have time to tap into the skill sets that you are speaking of that allow them to be leaders of the 21st century with foresight in mind. So help us strike that balance between being able to have the foresight, but really having to get into the nuts and bolts of the business, and sometimes even just keeping the business afloat.
Faith, I want to start by saying, one, you don't have to go and do a PhD like I did, right? You don't have to do that. Because often I think the mistake that people make is to think, for me to be relevant, I have to go do another degree and another degree and another degree, all right? I am saying leaders have a responsibility to unlearn and relearn. And if you are telling me I'm putting out fires every single day, when am I going to have time? Then you're telling me that you are choosing to be disrupted. This is a choice you are making. Because at the end of the day, your organization is simply going to say to you one day, you haven't kept up, you haven't read, you haven't bothered to do some few courses, certificates, you haven't even made an effort to try and understand what is changing in my environment? How do I remain relevant? I'm not saying go and do another degree. I'm saying go and find out what is happening in your environment so that you become sustainable as a leader. And if you choose not to do that, then if one day your organization then says, well, you're no longer relevant and we don't believe you are the right leader and we either want to take you to a lower role, then you shouldn't be surprised, because unfortunately, working with accelerating technologies in a digital economy requires people to unlearn and relearn. So when I spoke about agility, ambiguity, volatility, this is what I'm talking about. Exactly what you said around putting out fires, making sure I'm retaining people. Number one, breathe. You need to start by showing yourself kindness. Always lead with kindness. And number two, forgive yourself. Don't expect yourself to be perfect. If you're watching this and you are thinking, wow, she sounds like the perfect leader, you are sorely mistaken. Show yourself kindness. You need to acknowledge that the world has changed. You need to understand, what do I need to do and what is the plan I as a leader need to put in place to make sure I remain relevant. I love my job. I love my team. I love my organization. I want a long-term future with them. Therefore, what do I need to do to make sure that I achieve that? At the end of the day, Faith, every organization is a digital organization. It's not about when are we going digital. It's about when are you going to be disrupted. We know the Garmin was disrupted by the smartphone. People, how many people do you know, Faith, are buying torches, or are they using their cell phones for torches? How many people are actually not realizing that a lot of the companies that are listed on stock exchanges or the top 500 corporate organizations are being disrupted by two guys sitting in their mother's garage competing with them? And these two guys are just starting with using accelerating technologies, but they're now competing with you. These are the Amazons of the world. These are the Airbnbs of the world. These are the Googles of the world. They've now become big multinationals. I'm simply saying, if you want to remain relevant as a leader, you need to have honest conversations with yourself. And even if that honesty starts by saying, I'm not there yet, but I need to get there, I'm simply saying, recognize what needs to be done, put together a plan, and do what needs to be done. If you choose, emphasis on choose, if you choose to be a relevant leader, If you choose to be a leader who wants to embrace and understand the disruption that comes in a digital era, and if you choose to be a sustainable leader in an organization that wants leaders who are committed to unlearning and relearning. That's all I'm saying. It's really your choice at the end of the day.
I like how you throw the ball back into our court as well to make decisions about our own leadership style. But, I'd also like to open it up to delegates. You are listening to this conversation. You're seeing Dr. Ntombi and myself really navigate this path of effective leadership. And if you would like to ask a question, please do feel free to do so. Just type it onto the chat box. We'll make sure that you get your questions heard. I do see some of the comments that are coming in, and we really do appreciate some of these comments. So keep it going so that we can be interactive in this conversation. But I want to speak a little bit about women, especially where we look at women in effective leadership. Now, the theme encompassing today's conversation is women fundamental to change.
Yes.
And then oftentimes we look at women and their fundamentalism in changing the status quo as a tick box exercise. How do we move beyond that? And when you take a gander of women in leadership positions globally, how are we faring in truly utilizing the skills of women to bring about sustainable change?
Faith, I almost fell off my chair when you said doing this is like a tick box exercise. I don't know what world you're living in. I certainly don't see it that way. And I know that's not what you're saying, right? I know that's not what you're saying. And you are very right. There are a few organizations who will either do it because when they need to get their BEE certificate, they're going to be made of that, right? Or everybody, their clients are putting them under pressure, and for them to be able to get a certain RFP, they need to reach certain levels with women and representation. 100%. That is where the tick box exercise comes from. But I am certainly not a believer in the tick box exercise. We have research, we have case studies, we have proof, we have data that shows us that having women around the decision-making table, having women in boards, having women in senior leadership, in organizations, results to companies that innovate better than those that do not have women around the table, results in companies that are more productive, and also results in greater profitability. You say, how is that possible? Because when you have women represented around the table, like your men, be it is men, women, or be it is race, be it is different social backgrounds, a diverse representation of race, gender, socialization means you have the ability to respond to the clients that actually buy from you as an organization. You are representative from the people who help you to be profitable. So when we include that inclusion and diversity, and we have our women at the top, and we know that the majority of the buying power is coming from women, are the ones who do a lot of the shopping. They're the ones who are going to the malls. The men are just visiting it, or they're sitting outside Woolworths waiting for her to get out because they don't want to be in there, right? So my point is, if you are going to be selling a product that is majority bought by women when they go into the shops, or that is majority used by women who are making up the majority of your clients, surely you would want those voices represented around your board, your decision-making table. And really, like I said, the data shows that organizations that are leaders in having women, in having diversity, in having representation, they are far more profitable than those that are not embracing, or those that are actually applying this as a tick box exercise. So for me, it's no longer about should we or should we not. It's about how far are we progressing. And I do also understand that the challenge we have to face as a country and as organizations is that because of the way we raised our women in the past, the way we socialized our women in the past, a lot of them may not have gone to university like our men. A lot of them may not have studied engineering, technology, mining, all because those were said to be men. But we know that that is now changing. A lot of them still believe that actually my place is at home as a woman. Therefore, we don't necessarily have the pipeline sufficient to meet the demand. And that's why organizations, like you say, are struggling and fighting to keep women, because there is still a limited pool. There is a pool, but there is still a limited pool of women who are necessarily capable to be competing in roles that were traditionally seen as occupied by our male counterparts. So for me, it's about saying, let's not argue about should we or should we not be doing this. I'm not having that conversation, but it's rather about you saying to me, Ntombi, I know we need to do this. I know it's the right thing. I know it's going to have profitable results for us, but I don't know where to start. That's a different conversation. Then we can advise you around, look at your policies, look at your culture, look at your decision making, look at, do you create an enabling environment, and do you also create an opportunity where women and other people feel comfortable to speak up so that they can propose the journey that would be best. So the change may not be accelerated, it may be incremental, but we take every small win. And that's the conversation we should be having about how do I get started versus I'm not sure I should be doing this and this is a tick box exercise.
Yeah. You know, we're talking here about practically being able to get started. And I want to pull the heartstrings a little bit here, because when we looked at post-COVID realities, especially when it comes to the workplace or in positions of leadership, women were getting into the great exodus. In some instances, it was called the exodus because the woman is not just the leader in the organization. She's a mother at home. She's somebody's wife. She's got responsibilities. And the time that has been allocated to her to be that effective leader, unfortunately, with everything else and with the lack of support, she's not able to fulfill that mandate. And what we often find is that women start making these choices of either I stay in this position of influence, but at the cost of. How then now, because I want us to speak to the woman, how then now do we reach out and what do we say to women who are saying, Ntombi, I hear you. We need to be impacted. We need organizations who are going to utilize the skills and the essence that women bring into the organization. But I myself am struggling with the notion of how am I going to be a wife? Because I get home at 9 o'clock and I've got still a report to submit, but I've got children that I need to do homework with. I need to tuck them into bed. I need to be able to make food for my husband. I need to be able to still be a wife, and so the story of the woman continues. What do we say to that woman? What do we say to that woman so that she stays in that position of influence?
I always tell people that I believe you can have it all. The only difference is you probably can't have it all at the same time. And people will often speak about work-life balance. People will speak about work-life integration. I say focus on harmony. And what do I mean by harmony? You need to be able to allow yourself to know that today or this week or this month, I'm probably going to be spending a lot of focus on my work because I have a big project that's coming up, right? However, next month, I'm probably going to be leading with my kids. You need to have that agility, that fluidity to say what is relevant for now. So what I want to encourage women is to try and say, guys, don't try and be superheroes. If your career means something to you, you will also join an organization that allows you to set boundaries, an organization that allows you to come in and allows you to leave at 3 o'clock so you can go and pick your kid up from school. And then when you've finished picking your kid up from school and you've done some work with your kid between 3 and 6 o'clock, you can log on again at 8 o'clock and work till about 10 o'clock. You need to build those boundaries. And I know, Faith, it sounds so easy. It sounds so easy. But I want to encourage and challenge women to use their voices. If you don't speak up, if you don't set the boundaries about how best the organization can get results out of you, then who is? If you are the world's best data scientist, do you honestly think you can't go to the company and say, between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock on this day, I've got to give time to my kids because they have a critical project that I need to go and watch at school. I'm simply saying to people, there'll be times when you're leading with the home. There'll be times when you're leading with your work and your professional career as well. Just find the harmony that works for you. And often I listen to people talking about, oh, this woman has resigned. Now we've got no other women in the JSE, or we've got no other women who are CEOs. The fight for women is taking a step back. Have you ever thought maybe that woman felt, actually, I've done my contribution and I'd like to give somebody else a chance? Why is it when a woman steps down from a CEO position, we say, oh, the fight for women is going to hell, things are going down, things are not progressing because women are resigning at the top? Do we say the same about when our male counterparts are resigning? Haven't you ever considered that that woman had a 5-year plan or had a 10-year plan, and they've met the objectives they wanted to deliver in that role? It's not like they wanted to live there till they were 70 years old. So I guess what I'm saying, Faith, is people need to focus on harmony, and you need to determine what is important for you. And if you want your professional career, if you want your family, your husband, your wife, and everything, then build a life that works in harmony, where you need to negotiate with your employer about what works for you and how the employer will get the best results out of you. Faith, imagine you were running an organization and you hired a top-notch female candidate, but she was unhappy because you were insisting that she's in the office by 8 and can only leave when everything is done, and that's maybe about 7 o'clock. You're not going to get the best out of that employee. You're not going to keep that employee. That employee is definitely going to resign. What do you think the organization is going to do? Don't you think they will choose to create an environment that empowers them? Think about all the leadership qualities and roles I was talking to you about. The fact that the world has changed, there's a virtual world. You need to create empowering teams. You need to have EQ. You are better positioned as an organization to find a way to keep this top talent by allowing them to take 2 hours to go to their son's school and allowing them to continue at the end of the day. Measure people on outputs, Faith. It's not about I clocked in at 8 o'clock and I clocked out at 5 o'clock. When you're measuring me on that, you don't even know how many smoke breaks I took during the day. And actually, I probably gave you 4 hours and you're thinking I was there being effective for about 8 hours. Measure people on outputs.
I love it. We're going to take some questions as well. I do see some of your questions coming in, so allow me to read them out. Great advice. This is great advice on being a leader in the respective role. How does one then transcend to influence leaders above them who interpret the young leaders as wanting to sabotage or outshine? That's a good one. How do we influence the leaders above them who interpret the young leaders as wanting to sabotage or outshine?
So let me just talk to the influence part of it, number one. So you said, how does one influence upwards who interpret the leaders as below them wanting to sabotage, correct?
Yes.
Faith, number one, whether you are a leader, whether you're a manager, or whether you are just an analyst that has just joined, or you are a specialist, your role is to influence upwards. That is basic 101. If you want to climb up the slippery corporate ladder, you have to influence upwards, and you need to adopt this mentality from a very junior position as well. And what do I mean by that? The only way you are going to grow is if you start having visibility. The only way for you to have visibility is for you to influence upwards. So never ever say to yourself, I'm just an analyst, I'm just a specialist. When you're working on a project and you've done a great job, make sure you put together reports, you talk about it, and you create visibility with the leaders that make the decision making. Understand who influences your career. Understand who's going to make that decision about whether you get promoted or whether you not get promoted. And make sure that you, as a woman, are selling yourself. This business of women saying, I'm a good worker, my work speaks for itself. Yeah, my darling, it's supposed to be that way, but it's not that way. If nobody's ever told you, let me tell you now. Your work should speak for itself, but that's not how it works in corporate South Africa. You need to promote and market yourself, and you need to create visibility of the great work you are doing. And if you believe you are a great leader, you also need to let people know that actually I'm a great leader. And then somebody will come across and say, oh, this woman is arrogant or she's too confident. They won't say the same thing about your male counterparts. So why are you apologizing? You need to create visibility for yourself in order to grow. Your work should speak for yourself, but it won't automatically mean that you are being promoted. So please, put yourself first and make sure you're creating visibility, self-promotion, and talking about your work and going the extra mile to put those reports so that people know about who you are and the great work you are doing. You know, the one challenge I want to talk about today is that the young people we are seeing coming into organizations today, a lot of them, they speak to their seniors or their more experienced colleagues as if they actually have more experience than them. I love watching young people. They absolutely kill me. And I want to say to people who are facing that situation, young people are built and designed differently to the way people in my generation were actually raised. So as a leader or somebody who's working with a young person, do not kill the passion and the fire in that young person. Understand that they were born in a different time and era. They don't have the baggages and the challenges we may have come with from the 70s and the 80s and the history of South Africa. Rather, apply emotional intelligence to say, how can I guide, refine, polish, and fix these rough edges that I am seeing in this young person to get them there? And how do I speak to them in a way and in a language that they understand to help them achieve the objectives they have for themselves? The last thing you want, Faith, is to sit and think every young person who is either working with you or who is working beneath you is now looking to sabotage, looking to pull the rug under from you. Yes, there are people like that, but can you imagine living in a world where you are constantly thinking somebody's out to get me? Not only is your high blood pressure going to be out the roof, you are going to be unhappy, you're going to feel unhealthy. So have confidence in yourself, believe in yourself. And if you see that, go and have that uncomfortable conversation with that person. I think as women often, we shy away from having uncomfortable and difficult conversations. And we need to learn that we need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable from time to time.
I love that. Get comfortable with discomfort, almost to say. I've got another question. How can one be a part of the Vodacom Women Empowerment Forum for growth purposes?
I want to say to that person, how can you start a women's network in your organization? And if you're not sure how you started, then absolutely reach out to me. Reach out to me and I'll help you. Because understand, the Vodacom Empowerment Women's Forum is an internal platform for women at Vodacom to feel they belong, to understand Vodacom is committed to having women in the organization. Women are encouraged to grow. Women are actually make sure that they're supported through coaching, sponsorship, development to get to the top. That's an internal platform. We talk about it because we want people to see Vodacom as an employer of choice. So what I want to encourage you is to say, if your organization doesn't have a women's network forum or a women's forum, then motivate for it. If you need guidance on how to do that, reach out to me. Because there is no point in you looking at other organizations and say, that organization is doing a great work. Simply say, how can we do that within our organization? What role can I play? Remember, we spoke about leaders in this digital economy and sustainable, relevant leaders are leaders who implement change. So if you want that, then you know what your issues are at your organization. Not all organizations have embraced the journey to getting to equal, but you can have the conversations. You can get the case studies. Just the other day, I had somebody reaching out from me from Durban, where they were saying, I want to speak to my exco tomorrow. I need case studies on how other companies are doing that. I shared all of that. I shared that. My role is to make sure other people who need to get to where we are and the organizations I've worked for, it is my duty to make sure I empower others with knowledge, information, content for them to go and start women's network in their organizations, because it doesn't just benefit their organization, it benefits the community, it benefits the country as well. So please, find out how you can start a women's network forum to support the women in your organization and see what results it will deliver. And I am happy to assist and guide them.
That is fantastic. Now, I wish you and I had the whole day, because I think I share the same sentiments as our delegates when I say, if I could package you and put you in my handbag, so every morning when I don't feel like facing the world, I can just pull you out of my handbag and we will start the day together. I'll be very happy. But in the 2 minutes that we've got with each other, Doc, I want to just get another question going. Why do you think most women will only apply for roles where they qualify 100%, as opposed to males who would apply even if only 70% of the requirements are met?
Because women set very high standards for themselves. That's why I said, show yourself kindness. Men are saying, I will learn the rest in the job, in the role. And women are saying, if I go and do that job and I don't know it 100%, then actually people will think I am an imposter, and then imposter syndrome kicks in. I want to say to everyone listening today, everybody suffers from imposter syndrome, including me. There are times when I'm given a task, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, am I sure about this one? Understand, imposter syndrome is not a female thing. It is a human thing. Men also have imposter syndrome. But the difference is, how do you manage imposter syndrome when it hits you? I always argue that do not allow yourself more than 17 seconds of imposter syndrome. 17. Why? Because after 17 seconds, when you've told yourself, I'm a fake, they're gonna know I can't do this job, I'm gonna be found out, people can see I'm a failure. If you continue to think that way after 17 seconds, it's gonna stick in your mind. If it's under 17 seconds, you have the ability to quit the habit. So no more than 17 seconds, and know that it's very normal when you are hit with imposter syndrome. The question is, do you allow it to manage you, or do you manage it? Guys, I want to repeat, show yourself kindness. You don't have to be perfect at everything. You don't have to be the perfect professional, the perfect mother, the perfect wife, the perfect friend, the perfect aunt, etc. Show yourself kindness. And if you need a day to have a pity party, take your day. Love yourself. Understand that I'm going to have good days, I'm going to have bad days, I'm going to have imposter syndrome, but I'm also going to rock my job, I'm going to deliver my job, and I'm a kick-ass professional. So show yourself kindness and really love yourself and believe in yourself. Everybody else is. If you're not believing in yourself, I don't know who you're handing over that responsibility to.
Dr. Ntombi, as I said, it's an absolute honor to have you. I wish we could all have a little bit of you every single day, where you get to navigate this path, especially in leadership. You are absolutely phenomenal. And I think I take it on behalf of the delegates to say, what an absolute energy booster. I think we all have been given a sense of essence and a sense of purpose to carry out our day and somebody coaching us on to say everything is going to be okay. Just stay true to the course and stay true to the path. So we greatly appreciate the words of wisdom you've shared with us this afternoon. We appreciate your time and also the energy that you've invested in all of us. I think we're going to take it and we're going to run with the messages that you have given. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we've come to the end of our LeaderSHIFT series for this month of August. What a beautiful way to wrap up Women's Month, isn't it? By having a powerful, impactful woman joining us and shedding some light in terms of how do we become better leaders within our respective roles. Do not miss next month. That's the month of September, because we're going to have Bronwyn Williams. Look out for that. Bronwyn Williams, of course, is a global futurist, an economist, and a strategist. So you do not want to miss that. That will be given more information closer to the time. And if you also want to get a hold of this particular conversation, all you do is just tap into the SBI website and you'll be able to have this particular conversation, as all conversations, available to you. But from ourselves with the Stellenbosch Business Institute, until we talk again, have a fantastic rest of your day. Goodbye.